here's where we can pick up the gauntlet and put the good county sheriffs back in the seats that they should be in. Okay, so, hey.
And he's got a book out.
Yes, he does. And that's what we're going to be talking about Thursday. But that's another subject at another time.
Well, it all kind of interweaves itself.
Yes, it does. By the way, somebody mentioned the other day to me, Robbie, was it you, Chris, that said something about, well, Robbie's an African-American?
That's true, he is.
Yeah, so are you, Bob, but you're not in country.
You know, a kid tried to do that. A South African kid filled out a school application, listed himself as an African American, and all the you-know-what broke out after that one.
Well. Can't have some white guy that's an American, no matter what the age, in Africa, calling himself an African American. Hey, the market.
Just like Barack Obama.
Yeah, very. No, let's.
Except I was born there.
So was he. At any rate, gold, folks. If you don't know what's happening with gold, I'm here to tell you we told you so. For you people who are still out there waiting for it to hit the $500 mark, please don't hold your breath. If you do, call 911. They're going to have to resuscitate you.
$33 away from 1,000.
Yeah.
Could see it tomorrow.
Yeah. Close at 967.90, up 10.40. Silver, woohoo! It's starting to move again. And as I said, that's the poor man's gold, up 41 at 14.66 in OZ. And the Dow Jones. Guys, were you watching the markets today? Do you think the plunge protection team was working overtime today?
They sure were.
Holy mackerel. I sat, and it was 2 hours before market close, Bob, and I saw the Dow on the little ticker there go unchanged. And I'm going, yeah, unchanged. And I could just see the manipulation going on there. Well, the United States dollar, that's not doing too well. Closed down at 70. Well, actually, it closed up 6 cents at 77.65. Bob, what can we look for in the United States dollar here? China evidently is not going to buy any more of our debt. What are they going to do?
Well, I think, excuse me. I think, first of all, we were at 89.5 2 months ago, and I said, get out of the dollar. And for those of you who play that market, go short. They expected support at 80, and it didn't get there. And it collapsed from there. And then the market expected support at 78, and that didn't exist at all. And now they're talking about 74. So the market's going down in the U.S. dollar fairly quickly. By the end of October, the 71.18, which is support. And that's when I expect that other nations' business people, like a year and a half ago, will stop accepting dollars, whether it's in traveler's checks or debit and credit cards or in business. They'll demand euros. And that could create a crisis, not a permanent one, but a temporary one. And then I expect that, in all probability, that the government will use that as an excuse, along with the swine flu, to perhaps do a forerunner of what's going to come later. And they'll go ahead, I think, and shut the banks down for 2 or 3 or 4 days.
A bank holiday. By the way, Bob Chapman had his own town hall meeting with roughly about 30 million people the other day. We'll be right back. Yeah, that was the idea when we started out. Peace, liberty, justice, freedom, all those passe things went out the window along with those stodgy old farts with the white wigs. Bob Chapman, you had the opportunity the other day to talk to 30 million people via 500 radio stations on George Norrie's program on August 2nd. and that was being hosted by Ian Punnett, I think his name is. You know, they won't let me on that program. They'll put AJ up there or Steve Quayle, but they don't want me talking to 30 million people because, you know what? I'm a guy of solutions. I'm not up there to scare the living snot out of people. And you really can't consider George Norrie's crowd to be the patriot community. They're pretty well informed on a lot of different subjects. But I'm glad after a 5-year hiatus, Bob Chapman, you had the opportunity to get up there. Were you up there for the whole 3 hours?
I certainly was.
Good.
And an awful lot of people, I understand, wrote in and were happy that I was there. And many of them want to be on once a month, and because some of them sent me copies of the letter, and most of them were from people who I didn't know, and so evidently I present things in a clear and concise manner so that it's easy for the average person to understand what the problems are, and it was a good interview. We had some very good calls, and I'm glad I was exposed to that because the message that we have to the people got to a different audience. And I don't overstate, as you all know, and I don't scare the whatchamacallit out of people. The facts are the facts. They speak for themselves. And so it worked out pretty well, I think.
Well, good. I mean, you've been only doing this for one purpose and one purpose only. It's what I've been involved with all these years, and that's to wake people up and tell them what's really going on. And I've had my radio program, my show critiqued, and you know that I'm very conservative, and I guess I've been known as doing a lot of financial stuff, but it's more for the middle and upper middle class people. That's not true, because I've been down here in the trenches all these years. I'm a working class hero like everybody else out there, folks. I believe in an honest day's work for an honest dollar. Of course, we haven't had an honest dollar in, 100 years? But aside from that, Bob, you've been doing this for a half a century, for gosh sakes.
That's right. And, I think as long as I stay healthy, I can probably do it several more years. Maybe as much as 5 or 10, and I'm not going to give up. The only other position left for me is on the front line because I can be sacrificed. I mean, I've lived my life, so if I'm going to take some bullets, that's fine.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about this today. We've had some very fine people recently pass, Alan Stang being one, and this guy has been in the battle. You knew him as well, Bob Chapman. You guys used to run together.
64.
Yeah.
It was Ed Griffin and Anthony J. Hilder and my partner, Gary Allen.
And I'll tell you what, he wasn't a guy, he wasn't big in stature, but he had a lot of guts. I mean, he even went toe-to-toe with the Black Panthers one day by himself. So,
that's right.
Allen doesn't back down. I mean, he was a unique individual. And a lot of people don't understand. The people that you hear on the airwaves right now, they're relative newcomers. And when we're talking people that have been in the trenches fighting this battle since the 60s, where everybody else was running around with long hair and bell bottoms and smoke dope and love and peace and all this other stuff, and why do we have fences for property, you were out there with a merry band trying to relay what was going on in this country a half a century ago. I mean,
we had in those days we didn't have access to radio, and of course there was no internet, and so we were pamphleteers, and we were all writing books and our newsletters and things like that, and of course the whole world has changed since then, and in the last 15 years we've been able to accomplish would have taken 100 years before. And but John, believe me, and Robbie, we've got these people on the run. They think they're going to win this thing, and I got news for you. There's millions and millions of people all over the world who are now getting the solution as to who did what to them. And we're making tremendous inroads. And when you see them at the Bilderberger meeting, whether they should stop the depression that they've got planned, and then they find out they can't stop it, and then at the Bilderberger meeting they said, we've got to let the dollar go down. And that's how I was able to pick the top of the market. And so we're doing the right thing. And all of you people who are supporting John and Robbie, please continue to do it. We need all the help you can get.
Well, we haven't even really hit our stride yet. Things have not gotten bad enough. And the listeners to this network, and I love all of you, but again, I will ask you to get in contact with us here at this network. You know, we print up the business cards, generic business cards.